Here now, KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump. KT, great to have you today. Let me start with this. You had a piece at FoxNews.com yesterday saying that the Biden administration was living in an alternate reality around Afghanistan. Is that still your take today, given some of the press briefings we've heard, given some of the updates that we're hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just been reinforced that I don't know what world they're living in, but if you listen to the, National Security Advisor, if you listen to some of the briefings out of the State Department, the Defense Department, but particularly from the President, everything's just fine. We've got this plan. We're following this plan. People are going to get out. We're getting all Americans out. We're going to get all Afghans out who want to come. And yet the reality on the ground is just looking very different. We look completely incompetent and taken by surprise. And the excuse that President Biden and others use, well, we didn't expect this to unfold this quickly, therefore don't blame us if something goes wrong. I've worked for a number of different presidents, and I've known, I guess, just about everybody who's been president or run for president in the last 50 years. And it's a tough job. You have to realize that things won't go your way, and then you have to accommodate and you have to change your plan. And that's why I think the questions that Jennifer Griffin was asking at the Defense Department are so significant. You're at one airport. There's a choke point of everybody in the entire country is supposed to make their way to Kabul and to Kabul airport and get through all the rings of security and somehow get on airplanes. Afghanistan is a primitive country. It's not like you get on I-95 and you drive from Boston to Washington. The people who are in the north and the east and the west of Afghanistan, how are they going to get, the Americans, how are they possibly going to get through all of these very treacherous checkpoints run by local warlords and provincial chiefs to find their way to Kabul airport? I just think it's, I just think it's a real tragedy, and it is going to get a lot worse.
And KT, not only how do they get there, but you've got this August 31st deadline that increasingly looks like it's being dictated not by the Biden administration, but by the Taliban. At this point, would you say the Taliban is completely setting the boundaries for what the U.S. is willing to do in Afghanistan?
Absolutely. There's a reason that American forces who are at that airport, I mean, I've been to that airport. It's a very large airport, but there's a single runway. It's a real third world airport. And the Taliban forces have a ring around the airport, and then Americans are within that ring, inside that, they call it the green zone. So Americans are not leaving, American military, 4,000 combat forces, are not leaving that airport to go out into downtown Kabul or into some suburb of Kabul to pick up Americans who otherwise cannot make their way to the airport. They're all staying right inside. Now, other countries are leaving that area. They're going to rescue their own people. In some cases, the Brits even rescued some Americans and then bringing them back to the airport. I've got to assume that the Biden administration has said to the Taliban, look, we'll stay right inside that zone, just don't hurt Americans. And as long as the Taliban keeps to that, maybe it works. But the Taliban has just put the Biden administration on notice that, nope, we're not going to let you here past August 31st. My guess is we'll have to bring out a big checkbook to bribe the Taliban if we want to stay any longer to get our people out.
And, KT, it strikes me that there's so much reliance right now on the Taliban keeping its word, which to me sounds crazy. But this is all about terrorism and what terrorists can project from that country into the future. You hear President Biden say, look, al-Qaeda's wiped out. They're gone. His team had to walk that back and say, well, no, he wasn't talking about them being gone. He was talking about their capability. Tell the American people, what's the real story when it comes to how terrorists might be able to reconstitute in Afghanistan, given how badly this has gone?
They'll reconstitute, but do so differently. I mean, I would say to anybody who has served in Afghanistan, or certainly to the Gold Star families, your people did not die in vain. What they did was they bought time. They bought us 20 years while the terrorist threat changed and evolved. In that 20 years, we've done things like put tracers on how does money move around the globe. We've been able to shut down a lot of the terrorist financing networks. We've improved our own intelligence gathering capabilities. So do I worry about ISIS coming back? Of course you do. But there are other real strategic threats to the United States, I think, that need to take a priority. We're focused on Afghanistan this week and the incompetence of this evacuation and withdrawal. But the real strategic threat to the United States going forward is always going to be China. And it's not an accident that China is flashing pictures of this all over the world to say, look at those incompetent Americans. They can't even control their own action and their own people. They can't even keep their own people safe. Don't look to America to lead the 21st century. Look to China.
Yeah, what's happening in Afghanistan has ramifications all over the globe with our adversaries. KT, I'd love to talk with you more about that. We are out of time. We'll save it for next time. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Brian.